important reminder. All information and ideas are for informational purposes only and are in no way intended as medical advice or as a substitute for medical counseling. Earthshift Products, Dr. Robert Cassar, all of their partners, affiliates, and subsidiaries will not be held accountable for the use or misuse of the information presented therein. This information is not intended as medical advice. The authors, publishers, and speakers of this work are not medical doctors and do not recommend the use of mineral-deficient foods, drugs, or medicines to achieve beauty and to alleviate health challenges. Because there is always some risk involved, all persons involved with the development and distribution of this information are not responsible for any adverse effects or consequences of any kind resulting from the use or misuse of any suggestions or procedures described on our website or Earthshift Live radio talk show or therein.
This is supposed to be a workshop, so we might as well do something, because I see a lot of workshops, there's still a lot of talking. We got to do work, right? Okay, so if we're going to do some work, if anybody wants to do, we're going to do something that's so important that you may have learned previously, but if you haven't, this is something that everybody needs to do, is to open up and make these glands. Do we know what these glands in our mouths are called that actually make about 30 to 40 to 50% of your pre-digestion? Before you swallow this food, you need to signaturize something by these glands to make it so the food now has your signature. If not, you're swallowing foods that have not been pre-digested by yourself, so your body has no idea what you're swallowing, so it thinks of it as foe. Because most of the things we eat have microbes in them. I'm a self-made parasitologist, and parasitologist is sort of weird because you're looking at things that are alien. Okay? So our bodies, you got to look at it. You have 100 trillion cells. Do you not? Anybody agree with that? You've heard of that before? And people say, how do you know? Well, you know, if you really look and see how this thing works, everything works in a holographic Koopy doll we'll go over. It means that everything that you are is also in nature the same way. And so you can cut out a lot of BS in the system if it doesn't fit into, as Brent was talking about the Fibonacci sequence. He said it's a 12-number sequence, but it's actually, in my book, it's 13 numbers. It's 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 144. Okay? It's actually a 13-number totality sequence. Now, the idea is that you have 100 trillion cells. Have you heard of yourself being 46 chromosomes? I mean, no one's really a research scientist. You've just heard of all these things. You have to believe a lot of people. And some people say it's, oh, they say. Who are they? What, the big cumulative group of people that actually supposedly give you the real truth? Maybe they are wrong. So let's sort of figure out a few things to see if some of this stuff that they tell us is true. Because a lot of stuff that they tell us is not true. And you'll be able to figure this out yourself. You don't need myself or different people to figure it out. If it doesn't fit into this naturalistic power of 10 system, then sometimes, most likely, maybe it doesn't. Because mathematics is everything. You'll see. It's sort of like one of the ways that the system reveals itself is by mathematics. So if you have 46 chromosomes, and if someone has a calculator, you can figure this out in time at home. But if you take 0, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 512, and you keep going for 46 times, what magical number do you think you come up with? Your 46 chromosomes in binary sequence. You come up with 100 trillion. Okay? So you have 100 trillion cells in your body, and now if we then take that same idea and we're going to go to the galaxy, to the cosmos, how many stars are there? Since you live in the system here, you know you have a heart, right? It's 23.5 degrees. Have you heard of that one? What is the Earth angled at? 23.5 degrees. What's your skin temperature? They say 90, they say, remember, 98.6, but you can check it out with a little thermometer, digital thermometer. So if you go to the sun now, power is a 10, what's the surface area, the surface skin area of the sun? The surface, remember, our sun, our skin, is 98.6. So if you go up to the sun, what would it be? 9,860, right? So let's do one more, and you can keep on going. The body's 71% salt water. What's the Earth? 71% salt water. How many breaths a day do you do? This is a good one. Anybody know? 18 breaths a minute. Unless you're a yogi, then you do 15. But 18 breaths a minute is the average. Okay? Now, if we want to figure that out in a day, our mathematical geniuses here, what do? You multiply 18 times 60 minutes in an hour times 24 hours in a day. 18 times 60 times 24 is 25,920. Okay, so what has that got to do with now? Remember, everything's got to fit into this Koopy doll. So a lot of things, the reason I'm saying this is because a lot of things we're going to talk about has to make sense. If it doesn't make sense, then most likely they're telling you a line. And we got to be smart enough to be able to filter through a lot of this stuff. So, 25,920 breaths per day. That's a lot of breathing, especially if you're breathing a lot of junk. Okay, so if you're 20 years old, you can see a difference between a 30-year-old and a 40-year-old and a 50-year-old is just by a day. They're 25,920 breaths a day. And if you live in Los Angeles, that's a lot of dirty breath. Okay, so let's look and see 25,920. This will make sense here in a little bit. What next are we going to check? That's 25,920. Do you know that the Earth has, remember I said, a 23.5 degree tilt? Do you know how many years it takes to make one full wobble of the Earth to make it so it can reach itself one more time? If you look it up, it's the same. 25,920. Do we know how far our little solar system is from the galactic center? 25,920 light years. Everything fits into this weird thing. It's mathematics. It's sort of hard to grab, but it is. If you look at the precision of the equinoxes, we're going a little cosmic now. And we're going to talk a little bit from the cosmos down to the atoms, and then we're going to bring a lot of the stuff back to the present. Because the present is really where we're at, but you got to look at the big picture, and you got to see the small picture. And then you bring yourself back to this weird picture, okay? Which of course is made up of the big and the small. But we got to start somewhere. So we're going to go way out now. How many years does it take for our sun to travel around this thing called the 12 cosmic holy temples? The constellations, as some people call it, or the zodiac, or the Mazzaroth. Have anybody heard of that one too? This 2012 year date that everybody keeps talking about? Okay, each constellation is about how long? 2,000 years. This constellation that we're leaving right now, the Piscean constellation, is how long? 2,012 years, right? The Aquarian constellation is a 2,056-year constellation. They go by arc seconds. Every time you take a degree in the cosmos, it's 72 years to make one arc second. If you multiply 72 times 360, you get 25,920. Okay, all these systems basically fall within each other. So if we separate, and you'll notice that once we get into the PowerPoint here, I'm just going to do this. This is a 5-hour PowerPoint, and I've done this several times, different ways, of course, but you can go on one of our, we have a community network that has about over 100 hours of videos, different workshops, different radio shows that we did before. One was called Earth Shift Radio Talk Show, investigating our problems, reactions, and solutions. Because you got to have solutions. If we're just talking, doesn't make sense. We can talk about problems, we can talk about reactions, but we need simple solutions. If not, what are we talking about? We're already hearing a lot of problems. All you do is watch CNN, but there are any simple solutions? Okay? Now, when we look at the cosmos, you'll notice that it's stripped out in 4 different quadrants: north, south, east, and west. And I'm just going to finish this one up because this ties in the 25,920. Do you know that every line, if you look at the, well, we'll get to it in a sec because it's on the PowerPoint. But if you look and see, again, each quadrant is 6,480 years. And if you multiply that by 4 again, what does that give you? 25,920. So this is pretty easy to go ahead and see how everything we're going to talk about fits into this sort of system that actually makes sense mathematically. So like I said, you can get rid of a lot of stuff that people are trying to share with you if it doesn't sort of fit into this sort of weird, you know what a Koopy doll is, right? Russian Koopy dolls, they have a little one here, another one fits into another one, another one fits into another one, another one fits into another one. And it's a very desirable way for us to be able, like I said, to weed through a lot of things. Since this is a workshop, and I've been to a few of these, I haven't seen any real workshops yet, so let's do one. Now, we talked about the parotid gland, and the reason being is because this is the master gland in your body, and almost everybody's in here probably is plugged. When's the last time, has anybody ever heard of this thing called oil pulling? Okay, what does it do? Just give me an idea, just so we can...
Pulls out toxins out of your teeth, so I've heard.
Okay, pulls toxins out of your teeth. Anybody else? That's a good start. Okay, oil pulling, remember, you're going to put oil in your mouth. And what is the oil? The oil is a detox, because the oil in your mouth usually only gets maybe, if you're good, maybe a minute's worth of staying in this part of the mouth, and then it goes whoop, down to the cauldron, down to the stomach where it hits acid and it starts to break down this nutritional value. But here's where all the action is. Where's your supercomputer? Right here. Your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your ears. This is where your super, as above. If it's perverted up here, what do you think is perverted below? As below. Okay? So oil pulling is to actually, especially with what oil do you use? Do you use a genetically modified oil? Or do you think that you would use something, what back in the 40s did they use in World War II? Let's say if you needed blood and we didn't have any. What did they use for the soldiers? Boy, you guys are good. They used coconut water. Why? Because it's almost exactly the same as our hemoglobin system. So it would be really smart to be able to use coconut oil to be able to actually do some regeneration. Why? Because it's the closest oil to what we know is actually assimilable to what we are. So you can see that this oil is pretty special, though. This isn't regular coconut oil, because, you know, there's a lot of coconut oils out there. You can press it, you can burn it, you can store it in weird plastics, so even if it is good coconut oil, it does what? It absorbs a lot of the plastics, plasticizers, bisphenol A, okay? So you can see this coconut oil is really cool. It's got a bunch of bumps on it. This is called centrifuge coconut oil. And the special component of this coconut oil for you to be able to clean these glands out is a roto-rooter substance called lauric acid. Ever heard of that? Lauric acid is super special for regenerational powers. So what we're going to do is we're going to use coconut oil, and we're going to use a little bit of what's called sodium bicarbonate. And sodium bicarbonate has to be aluminum free, because a lot of the sodium bicarbonate that you see out there, I can't name names because you get in trouble. One guy's got a hammer, though. You know which ones that is. And most of those are inundated with aluminum because it doesn't cake. Okay? But we're using a actual brand that you can get at any health food store. We'll have this in our wholesale club in a little bit, but we haven't found a viable source to make it so we could sell wholesale. Yet we have to buy the right things. The last thing we want to do is get something you can get yourself at the store, because we're really trying to go ahead and get exotic things that you can't get, because if you can get it at the store, you know, great, it's only a couple of dollars, okay? This is the Red Mill brand. This is the best brand I've found so far, and it says right on the front, aluminum free. This stuff is magical. You can look up a guy's name. He's an Italian researcher scientist, Dr. Simoncelli, okay? And you'll notice that he does a lot of work with sodium bicarbonate for reducing tumors in 3 days down to about 90%, just by flushing it with a small percentage of sodium bicarbonate. Remember, cancer and my side of the fence, since I'm parasitologist here, is what? Cancer is or could it be a parasite? And if it is a parasite, then remember, it's alien to your body, because a parasite, of course, is really, when you look at it, it's not doing you. What is the definition of a parasite? It doesn't help you. It's only taking from you. It's not beneficial to the host and invisible to the host. So if I start showing you some of the things in the future here about parasites, if anybody wants to leave the room, don't. Because the parasites that live inside you, behind you, because a lot of things we're going to talk about is behind the veil. And if it's behind the veil, remember, it's there. And doesn't want you to know if it's actually a parasite, because if you find out about some of these things, what you may do is what? Well, and again, I hear kill it. I used to kill everything before, and once you find out that this species inside you is your child because it was what? Born inside you? Would that make sense to kill your child even if you don't really like what it looks like and or it's living inside you and you've been taking care of it ever since maybe you had your first piece of meat? And there's all different types. Remember, yeast, mold, and fungus are really little devastating critters on most people. But the ones that are really, 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 how could you say? Badass. That's what I was going to say, but the ones that are really badass are called the tapeworms. And they're really here to be able to modulate your energy profile. I call them the energy vampires. And if you eat food that's not signaturized before you put it down into the stomach, they live in the small intestine. So a lot of people go to the doctor, and you go to a doctor who's, really not healthy himself. Okay? He's overweight, she's overweight, remember, and yeast, mold, and fungus live in all these different types of critters, live in pollution. Pollution, of course, is part of being a doctor, is learning how to learn to get rid of toxicology. And I'm only a student. I'm here to learn, just like you are. I'm here to expand what we do know and expand what we don't know. All I know is through 200,000 plus patient visits by seeing people that you can't help anybody. You can't. All you can do is give the ideas to people, and you want to help yourself. Let's give you a set of tools. Let's let you become your own so-called physician and heal thyself. Does that make sense? Because if you go to a doctor, and this doctor, of course, is doing his job. We're not demising anybody, whatever it is. We only know what we know. So if there is something to do yourself before you actually get to it, and emergency medicine, let me tell you, is, I don't care what it is. If you're hurt and you go to the emergency medicine is not valid. It is essential. But let's not play in the area of emergency medicine. Let's play in the area of this regenerational medicine or this preventative medicine. So this and this, two simple products, centrifuge coconut oil and sodium bicarbonate, is going to clean this gland. Remember, we talked about it, but I didn't say what it is. What's the name of the gland in the mouth? Parotid gland. And the parotid gland secretes what? An enzyme. It's called, oh, you're good. 10 points. Amylase. And amylase is a very important enzyme because that's your signature. It's not just an enzyme. Remember, this is something that your body actually secretes to be able to signaturize your signature on the food before it goes down, not into the stomach, but into the cauldron. This is where all nutrition takes place. But this is also an area that we need to feed. It's the supercomputer. And the supercomputer thrives off of silicon, and it thrives off of oil. Okay? And if you get dried up, you lose your silicon. The computer that I have over there is a Pentium 5, let's say, and I'm upgraded from a Pentium 4. What's the difference? How about we go to really find out that silicon, not silicone, I'm not talking boobs here. Silicon is not even essential. If you don't have silicon, and a lot of people say, I'm losing my memory. Well, you're losing your silicon. This crystal, your brain's a crystal. The crystal that I'm wearing here, does anybody know what this is made out of? It's made out of 2 elements only. She's really good. Another 10 points. She's going to get it here. You're getting something here we're going to give you. It's only made out of 2 elements, and your body thrives on what? Oxygen. We all know that because you got 3 minutes without it and you're out of here. You got 3 days without water and you're also out of here. And you got 30 days without food and you're out of here. So 3 minutes with oxygen, 3 days without water, and 30 days without food. It means we're pretty fragile. So if we know that this is made out of silicon and oxygen, we know that these crystals are our best friends because we are a crystal. So one of the things we'll go ahead and talk about in a little bit is also how do you get more crystals in your body so you can become more crystalline? because that's one of the things we talk about, how to change yourself from carbon-based to crystalline base. And when you're crystalline, that means you're more like a solar panel versus carbon-based, which means that you've got to eat from something that actually ate the solar food, like a cow or a pig or a piece of flesh. What do they eat? They eat grass. They eat solar panels. So if we eat the flesh, then basically what we're doing is we're eating a certain form of energy. And realistically, remember, I used to eat 3 pounds of flesh a day, 2-3 pounds when I was into bodybuilding and into, you eat flesh, you think it's going to put more muscle on you, so what do? You eat more. So the whole idea is to change your tune depending on if you see that there's a tune to change. And why would I want to change my tune? So once you become healthy, wealthy, happy, and wise, then there's nothing else to do except to expand consciousness. And so that's what we're really trying to get to. But in order to be able to actually play consciousness, we have to be healthy first. Otherwise, if you're seasick on a boat, what do you want to do? Get off the boat. And if you're not healthy, then consciousness is not even a word. I used to think about 10 years ago, consciousness was Confucius. I had no idea. And you can't talk about consciousness, you can only experience it. So one of the first things we find out is if you're going to eat food, at least, even if you eat meat, you're going to make sure that you signaturize the meat. Have organic meat, of course, because all the meats have different types of pesticides, insecticides, herbicides, antibiotics, hormones, and vaccines. And anything that's in the flesh, if you eat it, it goes into your flesh because it's in the flesh for a reason, because that's where it goes. It doesn't get processed. It actually finds a home. So we take the coconut oil, and if anybody wants to do this with us right now, and a small amount of sodium bicarbonate, and you're going to keep this in your mouth for at least 30 minutes. It'll make it so you won't be able to actually talk, but you'll swish it around, and this is what I do. This is really smart to do. The first time you do it in the morning. You're going to take a shower, you're going to shave, you're going to do whatever you're going to do, 30 minutes. If you can stand 45 minutes, it's like the last few minutes of your exercise, that's the worthwhile time. So this oil is going to turn into water because your amylase is going to break this oil down, and where's that oil going to go? It's going to get transmuted into this thing called the supercomputer. Okay? And the only way that this can get transmuted is if we open up and clean out some of its toxicity, which the sodium bicarbonate opens up some of these plugged orifices. Sodium bicarbonate, and what's the orifice plugged with? How about that? How about the mouth is the dirtiest thing on this body? One tooth has more microbes in it than maybe every cell you have in your body. One tooth. Okay, remember you have 100 trillion cells? That's a lot of microbes in the mouth. You wake up in the morning with bad breath. What do you think bad breath is? It's a lot of exhaust from these microbes. They really don't smell, but they eat things, and they, as we do, we get gas. Well, what do you think that is? That's gas. And their gas is an off gas. So you mix a spoon of this, as much as you can put in your mouth, and Zach can go around, or whoever wants to help here. Okay? And you put in about a half a teaspoon of this with the coconut oil. Get yourself a cup, and the cup is for later on because you're going to spit out. You don't swallow this. And if you put it down your sink, sometimes what happens is this stuff is so nasty it starts clogging the pipes up too. I've sent my coconut oil and sodium bicarbonate to the lab because as a researcher, I send a lot of things to the lab. And when you do, you find out that this gland was filthy because you didn't have a lot. Remember, how many people have been penetrated by the dentist? And not to get into bag on anybody, whatever it is. You get a toothache, you get whatever it is. Okay? I had 14 mercury fillings in my mouth, and my coconut had a massive amount of mercury in it because it's in my gums. So the coconut oil doesn't really do the job as we want to. And there's many things you can add with the coconut oil and the sodium bicarbonate. You can use oil of oregano too. Really smart. Okay? Oil of oregano will get your gingiva to grow back. Watch and see. Do this twice a week. And if you've got receding gingiva, which most people do, you'll start to get growth back immediately. Because these are microbes eating your tissue, and your tissue's trying to grow, but it can't grow. Do you know that your body makes 1 million red blood cells every second? A million. A million. Okay, why does it make so many red blood cells every second? It's because there's something inside eating this really fresh grass. There's a certain microbe that lives in our blood. And if we could actually slow down this, because you need red blood cells, don't you, to live? Don't you need oxygen and hemoglobin and all these things? Okay? Well, once you find out that there's certain critters in the body and you don't kill anything, you're going to terrain modify them. I always tell people, start in the mouth. Sure, you need to maybe go to the dentist and replace your amalgam silver mercury fillings with, I don't use porcelain because I found out that the porcelain's made out of, does anybody know? What's that?
Aluminum.
Bisphenol A is the glue they use. And bisphenol A is outlawed in Canada. It's outlawed in a lot of places in Europe. Why? Because it clogs us up. Bisphenol A is a plasticizer, and it makes polycarbonate and different types of plastics available to get hard or to give them certain shape. But it leaches like crazy, and it goes into the body and clogs us up big time. So what is porcelain? Sounds cool. It's made out of aluminum oxide. Okay? Put a cell phone up to your head, that's not too good. We know that, but if you've got metal in your mouth, now you've just increased the amount of frequency. Because remember, electrical magnetic frequencies, they attract your energy if you have certain metals inside your body that actually brings it to you. It's like an antenna. So all these different heavy metals, if you live in Los Angeles, let's say, you're inundated with certain types of electrical magnetic frequencies. And one of the things that we'll talk about in a little while is this little machine we put together. This isn't a tri-field meter, it's similar, but this is way more sensitive. And we've heard about feng shui, that's all cool. But this is feng shui of electrical magnetic fields, ionizing radiation and microwave radiation, which is really smart to go and remanipulate maybe where your bed is, because maybe your bed has 100 milligauss up against the wall because there's a huge amount of wires back here. Or maybe you're in an apartment and the person that lives downstairs is making your upstairs super toxic because the electrical magnetic field and the bundle of wires that feed the apartment complex. Every apartment complex I've been into has on the floor about 25 milligauss, and that's massive. So people wake up in the morning and they go, oh, I just never get a good night's sleep. Or I'm sick all the time and tired. What do you think is happening to you? Your body's a battery. Starting with the mouth is you're going to pre-signaturize your foods to make it so if you're going to eat, at least make it so you're not wasting your time. So parasites, remember, only eat food because there's a connection or a disconnection in the signature that we don't put into the food. So we'll talk about this in a little bit. Like I said, most of the lectures that we do, they sort of skip around a little bit, but it really makes sense because there's no silver bullet. You've got all these different fractals in different areas, electrical magnetic fields, acidification, demineralization. You've got oxygenation, you've got dehydration, which is the #1 disease on the planet. Okay? And dehydration would be what? Not drinking enough liquids, maybe? How about not drinking enough mineralized water? Because our bodies are hydrogen engines. And if we're a hydrogen engine, we drink water, and what is water? H2O, 2 hydrogens and an oxygen. So we'll start out here. If you've done this before, you notice that once you get the coconut oil in your mouth, if you can't stand it anymore because you're going to swish it back and forth, and you're trying to make this little, you don't have to do it constantly, but you want to really try to move it in every area of your mouth you can. And your parotid gland is going to be like pressing full gas pedal on your car because it's going to say, whoa, what do I got to do with this? It's never had oil in here with sodium bicarbonate, maybe in its lifetime. So what you do is you put about a half a teaspoon of this. You can work up to a teaspoon, and that's pretty strong. A lot of people, they will get, not burns, but it'll actually make your tongue weird for a day or two because most of our tongue is probably 30–40% microbes. And you really think the foods that you like are what you like? Or is there something behind the veil that actually tells you what you like because they're in control and they're behind the veil? Remember, who runs the show is a big question to always ask. Who runs the show is a big question. So we'll pass this around. I'll do the first one here so you can see what we'll do. And take a smell of this stuff. Oh my gosh. And this is centrifuge coconut oil, and you can see the mosaic patterns that this coconut gives. Look, it doesn't even harden. This turns hard at 72 degrees, and it turns into liquid at 73. Do you know another liquid that's an oil that does that? This is super special, and what's in it that makes it special is the lauric acid. And if you spin it, this is how this is done. It's done in a centrifuge. You spin it really super fast like a washing machine on a spin cycle. And what it does is it pulls out as much of the material that we want to put in our body as possible without, when you squeeze it, because people say, oh, it's cold pressed. Well, yeah, it is cold pressed. There's no machine heat. But after you start pressing it, it makes a couple 100 degrees because that's what you get with friction. Okay, you can rub your hands together and get friction. What do you think happens when you get a 2,000-pound press going up and down? It gets a couple 100 degrees. So what happens is you burn the essence of a lot of the products. And everything that we have at EarthShift is a raw vegan product because your body loves enzymes. It loves things that haven't been, I like not to really use the word perverted, but there's no really other word because it's a perversion to our bodies that really want to get healthy, to eat things that don't really have any nutrition. And if you eat things that don't have any nutrition, what do you think happens? Something inside your body has to break it down. And that's how we get, if you've got a lot of dirt in your kitchen, what do you get? Cucarachas, cockroaches, don't you? And if you put a lot of foods inside your body that your body can't digest, you get yeast, mold, and fungus. Okay? So I found out it's sort of like a little song. If you eat wheat, corn, and soy, again, this is my opinion because the guys that sell wheat, corn, and soy don't really like this, you get yeast, mold, and fungus. So you have to exchange over these for about 6 months and see what happens to you. You will massively change. And if you went back to the wheat, corn, and soys, because they've been all genetically modified, even if it's organic, it doesn't matter. This gentleman's field is organic and it's pristine and he takes care of it, but her field is right next door blowing into his field and she's all GMO. So what do you think happens? The GMO strains get into his field and actually she sues him for and this has happened, she sues him for actually using her patented GMO product and now it's in your field and you didn't buy my seeds, but you're saying I don't want your seeds in my field because you would think that your heirloom seeds would blow into her field and it would change her genetically modified, but it's GMO, genetically modified sterile organisms. They don't stop their perversion. If you eat this, think about it, genetically modified organism, GMO. No, people really don't understand what this stuff means. It means it's sterile, most likely. And if you eat these foods, you are what you eat and what happens to you. Even an egg that's unfertilized is a sterile egg. If you eat these eggs, if you eat this sterile food, what do you think happens? You become sterile. Your gonads are supposed to be about the size of a medium-sized chicken egg on a man and a woman. They're just 6 inches higher on a woman. Those are the ovaries. And so these are, forget the sexual part of all this, these are your weapons of mass destruction for the things that live inside your body that actually called your immune system. And your immune system, remember, relies on these hormones. So the first thing we're going to do is, that's why this is most important to go over, because if you don't start from here, all this stuff we're talking about is a waste of time. You start from here, why? Because this is where the first part of everything starts. And if it's perverted from here, as above, it's all the way down. It's a waste of time.
Question, as you just mentioned, I mean, I agree with everything that you said, but as above, further above is the way we think.
You bet.
Does not our thoughts become molecules? If you really are conscious, because what you said is completely correct, and I'm aware of it, but it's so overwhelming because you live in this world and you're exposed to no matter what poison. Almost 24/7. So unless you control the above, you obviously, even if you put whatever inside of you and the above is not clear, you will have trouble.
See, that's a great question. What do you think controls the mind? The body is the key to the mind. You ever heard of that? And if this gets perverted, this loses its tune, then the mind has a lot of emotional distress. Let's give everybody a drop of methyl mercury and see if that ruins your day. Your mind, no matter if you're a what do you call it, a master yogi, okay? Unless you can transmutate mercury, cadmium, aluminum, lead, arsenic, thallium, stainless steel, and all these different chemicals, then the body becomes perverted, and then the mind becomes perverted too. So the idea is that it's good to learn this from the lowest, simplest. The child, of course, is the easiest to learn, and the older you become, I'm 50, and I had to reverse tons. Remember, 25,920 breaths a day. It's a lot of breathing, and a lot of eating, and a lot of drinking water, and a lot of doing things that I was unconscious about. So a lot of the stuff is, remember, it's a little bit over the top because it is. It's a little confusing, but there's just so much. All you can do is start from the most relevant area, the cheapest, easiest, and simplest way to run your life. And electrical magnetic fields, as you were talking about, you can't see them, you can't feel them, you can't touch them or smell them, but this does. So this is one of the ways that you're talking about, because remember, your emotions are 80% of your energy in motion. That's what emotions mean. Energy in motion is emotion. So if you're not a master of your emotion, you've got problems, no matter what you're eating, no matter what you're doing. And how do you master your emotion? Well, first of all, we eat a clean, purist type diet. See, I'm not a vegetarian, I'm not a vegan. How about I'm trying to eat more as a naturalist and a purist? And I'm also what I call a liquiditarian. So let's say if I was eating meat, how could you be a liquiditarian? What does that mean? You're going to only drink the saliva. So the Book of the Essenes, you'll see these books, and thousands of years ago, they're sharing with you a lot of things that we read and we scratch our head and go, why didn't I learn this in school? I did all this schooling, went to medical school, you went all this stuff, but I didn't learn the simplest things in life and start from scratch. So if you're going to chew meat, first of all, you go to organic because pesticides, insecticides, like I said, vaccines, hormones, and all those other things are in the flesh. And they don't go through you, they transfer right to your flesh. You eat a piece of fish, it's got mercury in it, where do you think it goes? Why was it in the flesh to start with? So it's really hard to go ahead and stay clean by eating flesh. The problem is if you cut it out, there's certain microbes inside you that demand it. So this isn't something where you can just jump all the way up to the top here. This is biting off a little bit at a time. I call it, you can do this terrain modification 21 days at a time if you can deal with it. And if you're going to cut out meat, then you'd start out like I did, pork. I went there, I went to beef. I went there and I went to chicken. I went there and I went to fish. Then I went down to crustaceans and different things, no more faces. And see, once you actually change your vibration, remember, everybody's one. You've heard this before. So if you were into consciousness, you would know that you're not supposed to destroy. And so how do you stop destroying? First, you get the microbes out that make it so you can. You're not doing it. You couldn't even process these foods unless you had, remember, the cucarachas in the body eat all the dead food. And what do you think tapeworms eat? They eat flesh. They're flesh eaters. How do we get these tapeworms? They're in the flesh. So what we're trying to really do, because almost everybody as a parasitologist doesn't want to hear that you have a 3 to 10 foot snake in your stomach right now. You ever seen my video? It says Dr. Cassar, if you look it up, holds a rattlesnake. Okay? And I'm holding this rattlesnake. It's the Southern Pacific rattlesnake. And if it bites me, it will kill me. There's no real antidote. It's got a twin venom. One's like a brown recluse, and a brown recluse just gives you gangrene. It just keeps making a bigger hole and a bigger hole, and you can't stop its poison. It's local. And the other is more like a scorpion, or this kiss of death. You get a scorpion bite, and that's a systemic. That just makes you have a suffering, not, and toxic breath. You just can't breathe after a while. So if you get bit by this, usually they cut off your limb to try to save you. They can do the systemic part because they've got anti-venom for that, but not the gangrene part. You've heard of flesh-eating bacteria? So if I'm holding this snake, because everything wants love, and if I'm loving this snake, do you think it's going to bite me? Not really. Okay? Now, when you really find out that you've got the same similar snake in your stomach, if you try to fight this thing and kick it out of you, I heard someone say, kill it. The microbes, the tapeworms. And if you try to kill this thing, then what happens is that you're making a bad mistake. And this is a recommendation I can tell you for fact. If you try to kill the microbes inside you, then they will fight back. Why? Because everything in life wants to live, is it not? I don't care if it's a psychic parasite that lives in the mind. Once you get rid of all these physical parasites, now you've got the worst one to try to go ahead and beat, which is called the psychic parasite. Okay? So, each part, though, is very assimilable to change. And once you change one part, what do you want to do? You want to go to 3rd grade, you go to 4th grade, you go to 5th grade, 6th grade. And so you keep on going up this ladder. So you really can't look at this as I got all these things to do. You're going to check off one thing at a time. So let's get started with the coconut oil. And we'll do, let me show you here. And you can see how this stuff is, it's a little cold in here because if not, this wouldn't be, this wouldn't have this much. And now that's about a teaspoon. And if you're good, you can do 2 teaspoons of this heaping. But for the first time, if you've never done this before, 1 teaspoon is pretty good. You'll see that because your saliva is going to start actually filling your mouth up. And if you have to, try not to spit it in the cup. This is where this stuff that you're secreting out will actually make the oil turn into a transmutable entity. And you want it to go into your head. But if you don't keep your mouth closed and keep all this saliva, because your body will figure out how to neutralize or to make equanimity with this extra fluid. It's going to go right into the mouth. Okay? So what you do is you take one of those and then you just put in a tiny bit of this. That's it. About a half a teaspoon.
We're not going to swallow.
No swallowing. And if you swallow this, it's not going to kill you, but it's going to probably make you go to the bathroom. Really good. Yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and actually pass this around, and I'll show you just as much. Have you done this before?
No.
Okay. So what you do is you just put in a half a teaspoon. What you can do is grab with your clean spoon first. Go ahead and put in there, and actually just put in, put in like about a half a teaspoon. That's it.
In the coconut.
Exactly. And so we already did yours, so let's give you that one there. Okay. And then what you do is just pass that around, and I'll.
Where did you buy the spit it out?
I'm not going to ask you.
You can get that at any health food. Actually, no, not health food. It's a healthier food store. Remember, the stores that we call health food stores, 90% of the stuff in the store is still junk. They still have bags that have bisphenol A in the bags. That's a good amount, yeah.
I'm just mixing it.
Yeah, you can actually just mix it up a little bit and then scoop it in. And it's going to taste a little weird. Usually sometimes what I do is I put a drop of peppermint in too. You can put a drop in. Once you get a little more advanced, what you can do is you can put in some oregano oil, which is really, really, really good.
Oh, oregano oil here inside?
What's that? Yeah, you put in 1 drop only to start with of oil of oregano. It is oil of oregano, not just regular oregano. And you can buy it. It's about $20 for a little bottle, but it's worth it. Boy, that'll last you a couple of years because it's so strong. Oh yeah, and everybody here, just so you know, everybody gets a membership to the club. It's free. We're not really looking to sell memberships. We're actually looking to get good players to share their transformation. So I know if anybody transforms their terrain in 180 days, you've got massive change, and all you want to do is squawk about it to all your friends because it's the best kept secret that you knew. And it's so simple. You're going to take, this is why some of the foods we brought here, you're going to take 50% of the foods that you eat right now, and you're going to try to go raw. And the other 50%, of course, is to eat sort of like what you're eating, because you can't transmute yourself all at once. And if you try to, that's a bad mistake again. Remember, maybe you can do it, but what lives inside you doesn't want you to do it. So what you'll do is you're going to go on this called Terrain Modification, and you're going to slowly bend your energy, and your energy basically in time will go ahead and have a new set of critters in it. These critters are called pleomorphic bacteria, and they change to who you are. That's why you don't kill them. If you try to kill these things, you've heard of stage 4 cancer. Remember, I believe, and it's my opinion, because I'm not supposed to say this, that cancer is a parasite. And you would want to say, what does this parasite live in? And how not can I kill it, but how could I love it out of me? Because it's your child. Okay? And this makes big sense. So you're going to do 6 moons of terrain modification. It's called the 180-day Alkaline Lifestyle Challenge for Transformation. And once you do, consciousness now can be looked at, because you'll look back at yourself in 6 months and you'll say, wow, look how much I've changed, because there's no judgment in consciousness. You're only judging yourself, and there's no big deal to judge yourself. So you're not judging anybody. Everyone's on their own trip. They're all up their own, going up the scale here.
My children that lives inside of me, they will.
They'll find a new host because you're a good mama. Okay? Would you think about it. Would you kill your child because your child's just out of range? No. You would want to find some type of solution, because you know that this energy, of course, wants to live, and it will fight tooth and nail inside you to hold on to who you think you are. And this is where people go, I can't do that. Well, it's because maybe you're doing something that's not amenable to what lives inside you. So, I mean, there's so much to talk about, but one of the things I wanted to show everybody, because this is so important, you cannot regenerate yourself at all. Zero regeneration until you have minerals in your body. And if you have minerals in your body, then you need electricity, but not the type that you think, not the stuff that's running these computers. This is alternating current. Our bodies run off of direct current. And direct current is a natural form of current. Now, I'm going to show you this simple experiment. And we're going to use just regular water. And water, of course, how many people drink fresh water because you think it's good for you? Okay? Remember, how much percent of salt water are you? You are 71% not fresh water. You are 71% salt water, like the world is. So why would we drink fresh water? Okay? So we use a small amount of salt in our water, because the salt, remember, does the ocean have microbes, yeast, mold, and fungus in it? They don't like it. It's forbidden for them to live in the ocean. And what's the pH of the ocean? That's the pH of this ocean when you're healthy. And the ocean, of course, is changing massively in its pH. And so as it becomes sick, we live on this planet, and of course that's why we become sick. And once we actually change our internal sustainability and become this newer, faster, quicker, and smarter model, then the first thing you want to do is actually forget about sharing what you just did. You're going to want to be able to be sustainable exterior too. So you become internal, sustainable, and internal. We're going to put a small amount of water in here. And this is a machine that's very dangerous. We're going to turn this on. Why is it dangerous? Because this prong and this prong is just like putting your fingers into the light switch. This is the positive and negative electrode. And if I touch them together in my tongue, that's going to make those two touch together. And this light bulb will go on. Now, if I put this, I'm going to turn this machine on. You see the little red light. And this is a small light bulb that's clear. So you'll be able to see the amount of current that this water, if it has conductive capacity. And if your cells don't have the conductive capacity, you cannot regenerate. I don't care what anybody does. The body needs minerals. That was one of the things that they went over at the Longevity Now conference. This is very simple. And how do you get your minerals? Do you think you get your minerals by eating NPK foods? And what's NPK? Nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. Those are 3 minerals out of a possibility of over 80 that should be in your foods, but for some reason, we, the people, have been buying these 3 minerals in our agriculturally produced commercial foods for about 3 or 4 generations. And every generation that keeps eating these demineralized foods, we become demineralized, and every time we spawn, we actually don't spawn faster, quicker, and smarter children. 1 out of 40 children have autism for a reason. 80% of the population, remember, is 15 pounds toxic, not overweight. Body fat is a creature also. And you don't try to kill it. All you do is take out what it lives in. It lives in pollution. That's it. So you take out some of the pollution. It's very simple. Now, the idea of what we're going to do is just show you this simple experiment. And this makes big sense once you find out that you have 100 trillion cells in your body. And your body, of course, love internally is when all 100 trillion cells become one. You've heard you all are one? Well, how about let's make our internal self all one first so we can share the wealth on how we did this. Each cell has a little tiny powerhouse in it called the mitochondria, and the mitochondria is called the powerhouse. It's the nuclear cold fusion reactor of what we would call this heat-making body. Reptiles don't have this. They need the sun to be able to actually manufacture heat. So all the parasites that live inside us, they're reptilian or cold-blooded because they use us as a host to heat them up. Okay, that's why you see a lot of cancer treatments or parasite treatments use hypothermia and freeze people down, and or use superheat to be able to heat them up, because that thing that lives inside doesn't like any type of change in the heat. So we're going to use now, and I can show you a bunch of minerals and different things that most people take, all these vitamins. Unless they're plant minerals and or in ionic form, this light bulb will not go on, because elemental things don't make conductivity. So let's say elemental is a big rock, and if you swallowed little pieces of this rock because you chipped it off, if you didn't have stomach acid to break it down into small little particles, then your body couldn't absorb it in the first 12 inches of the intestinal tract. And that's the reason being why right now you're doing the coconut oil pulling, you're cleaning the parotid glands, so when you chew your food, even if it's meat, you're going to swallow the saliva. And so when it goes down, now you have all the food in micro form, not macro. Macro means you can see it. Micro means it's super small. Now you're going to go ahead and get probably 10 to 50 to 100 times, depending on what you're eating, the absorption levels. So let's go ahead and find out. I'm putting this in water, as you can see. There's a little bit of water here. And the water I put in doesn't do anything to the light bulb. So that means that the water that we drink, and this is RO water, reverse osmosis water, it's dead. Shows you it's dead, isn't it? This is, if I put this in Zach's tongue right, he'll show you it's not dead, okay? This thing is alive. If I put my finger in the water, look, this wouldn't be too smart, would it, if this was really working, because there's no transmission of electricity going inside me, because this is 110 volts, and 110 volts can kill anybody. But now, we take some of this stuff, and this is magnesium chloride, one of the most necessity ions of every cell in the body. We'll put 1 drop in. Whoa, just 1 drop. Okay? This is called consciousness. As you get the light because of minerals, then this thing starts to get a halo. You just can't see it unless you can see auras. Let's put another drop in. Let's change our consciousness again, our conductivity. Boom. Huh. Okay, so does this make sense? If you eat demineralized foods, then quit complaining about being sick. Okay? This is a simple solution. So a lot of the things people talk about don't really make sense until this mind, as you're talking about, the mind controls the body and the body controls the mind. So you better make a deal with both of them. Okay? We're going to do another one. Watch how much this just keeps on going. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. And you can see how each of these drops increase the amount of light because of the conductivity. Now if I put my finger in there, that wouldn't be smart. Okay? You know, we can drop somebody in a jacuzzi and put 10,000 gigavolts of electricity in distilled water, and you could just scare somebody because nothing's going to happen. But if you put in a few drops of salt, they're going to smell like chicken in a few minutes. Okay? This is the salt that I use. It's called Soleil salt. And Soleil salt is Himalayan salt that has been made into a 26% solution that you do yourself. You don't need to buy this stuff. 5 pounds of Soleil salt at the club is only about not even $20, and you can buy 1 pound on the internet for about $20. That's what it costs. And make sure that the salt that you're buying is stone ground, because this crystal is very hard. I like the Om. You know what that sound is really? The Om, everyone does this. That's the center of the galaxy. Om, Om. So when we hear this noise, this is actually us going back to the source, because that's what the source, if you listen to sometimes Nassim or different people, you'll hear that each of the planets give off a certain tune, and the one that runs the show, remember who runs the show in the galaxy? The galactic center does. And that thing does put out a big sound. So this is salt, and this salt is very salty. It's 26%, okay? And I put 10 drops in a bottle this big after I make my water. We've designed a 7-stage reverse osmosis system that everybody can, instead of buy your water, which is not smart because it's all plastic. It's in who knows what you're buying. Especially, it's a lot of money too if you're buying all these designer waters. You can take regular tap water and run it through not a 5-stage like at Costco. Those are sort of junky because they're just very minimal membranes. Not a 6-stage, but a 7-stage. And a 7-stage has a deionized filter in it, which is very special because it takes a lot of the junk that the other filters don't take out. And most importantly, there's a fluoride filter because sodium fluoride that goes right to the pineal gland goes into the body and it cannot be filtered out hardly at all. It's very hard. You have to have a fluoride filter. So we use this, and there are different types of fluoride, and you can see how all this does is make the light brighter. It doesn't take the bright down. If I put acid in here, into here, this light goes down to nothing. I didn't bring my acid, I forgot it. Yeah, anybody got a Coca-Cola? You want to see that? You put this in there and this light goes. So, do you want to be, as everyone says, do you want to become light? Then you need to be able to actually put minerals in you that would make you so you could actually absorb it. And then once you get these minerals in yourself, see, the body's a solar panel. And what I do is I take this stuff, fulvic, humic, and ulmic acid in a high concentrate, and I put 300 drops of this in about a big bottle of Absolute vodka at Costco. I don't use the Sky vodka because it's got a blue bottle, and I've asked the company several times, what's the blue made out of? And they won't tell me. They say it's a secret so-and-so. And the same with the Myron. I don't know what it's made out of, and they say it's a special so-and-so, but I know that a lot of the blue is made out of mercury and cobalt. And the last thing you want to do is put in a high-level acid in one of those because it will take out the color and put it into, because you can taste the difference massively. I've done this for a while. So what happens is that we take this fulvic, humic, and ulmic acid, and I put it in a 1.75 liter solution, which is the big bottle. It's about $22. I put 300 drops of that in, and then what I do is shake it up. We get a white towel, and we scrub our skin, and we open up the pores, because there's a microbe that's on our skin, and soap doesn't take it off. And if you've ever been burnt in the sun, do you think you're being burnt? Or do you think there's something living on your skin? Remember, you're a light being. Why would you burn? What's living on your skin burns. And you think it's you, but it's not. You can do an experiment. Clean your body, and then when you're done, you take that beautiful coconut oil. I take 2 tablespoons every morning in my drinks. I put a big spoon in my yerba mate tea. I put it at night in salad dressings. You want to take as much, 1 gallon of coconut oil if you want to get healthy for about 6 months, should be used every month for your own self. By the time you put it on your skin, shave with it, even put it in your hair so it goes into your scalp once a month. Because it gets a little greasy for, and you wash it once or twice. The coconut will stay in for a few days, and it's really, really smart to be able to put it in every orifice in your body. Ears, enema, every orifice. Lauric acid, remember, cleans anything it can touch. The whole idea is we want to try to tie this up a little, because otherwise, and we're really trying to give simple solutions to a huge problem right now that sounds so confusing, and it's really not. We'll take this up because that's bright, but you can see this is a huge conductivity idea. Yes.
If we're slathering our bodies in coconut oil, can we throw in some other things with the coconut oil?
Yeah, the coconut, if you want the coconut oil to be absorbed in your body, fulvic acid is present in all plants that are natural. See, once you use NPK fertilizer, it's made from commercial things like crude oil. They put this fertilizer, remember, these guys, it's a business. And how do you say business? Spell it out. B-U-S-I-N. You got to sin a lot to do business. Because I got to hold all the secrets from you, and I'm not going to tell you where I did this or got this. And once you use this commercial fertilizer one time, it kills all these very sensitive microbes in the dirt that make this beautiful stuff. And if this oil, or if this acid is not produced by the microbes, then you can't absorb, the plants can't absorb the minerals in the soil, so the plants then can't become healthy. So you can see how this business is smart. Here, let me let you use our commercial fertilizer made out of N, P, and K, not 88 minerals, and you'll use it once because it's made out of petroleum. It's going to kill every microbe in your field, and you will have to come back time and time again if you want to plant anything in the dirt, because the dirt now is dead. It's totally dead. So what we do is we scrub the skin really hard. We put on the coconut oil. If you want the coconut oil to go on your body, I put a few drops of this, and this is on Earth Shift too. I put a few drops of this in the coconut oil. Sure, we could make a whole coconut oil and charge people to be able to say, here's a new special such and such. Do it yourself. Heat it up to about 80 degrees, put in about 10 drops of fulvic acid, whip it in the blender, really good, and now put that on your skin. And you don't just put it on your skin. You rub this stuff in until it goes in completely. And what I usually do too is I put in, remember, magnesium doesn't need to be taken by the mouth. You put it in the skin. It's way more effective because it doesn't just go into the mouth and hit the cauldron and get broken up. Let's feed the skin. The skin is the largest organ in your body, most effective for breathing and regeneration. And so if we want to get toxic, we know that the skin is 10 pounds, and the best thing to do is to clean it and make sure it doesn't get, so we have a community network that you can spend about 100 hours of watching videos. And if you don't believe you have a live fish tapeworm in your stomach, let's show you what it looks like. Let's show you what the beef tapeworm looks like. Let's show you what the pork tapeworm, which is the swine flu. Well, what do you think the swine flu is? Think of it. Remember, these sicknesses are creatures, and if you actually tick them off, what do you think they do? They fight back. So let's not play that game. You go to the doctor, what does the doctor want to do? They want to cut you, because this is their game. It's what they do. It's all they can do. That's all they're taught. That's all the actual hospital let them do. Remember, it's a business to do this. Cut, burn. What's burning? That's chemotherapy. And what's poison? Those are the chemicals instead of the natural types of remedies, because chemicals, they may work for a certain function, but what they do is they lodge themselves in the body because chemicals can't be processed. So a lot of the things that we take, see, I call a drug a chemical, and I call a natural thing a medicine, because medicine is utilized in the body, it does what it does, and it leaves you without any residue. It's the residue that's the problem. So if we want to use these types of drugs, well, it's not that they're all bad. Let me tell you, they are valid, massively, when you need them. But if you go, my mom passed a few years ago, and I got a chance to really see this bigger picture, and you don't want to get stuck in it in the hospital. You don't go to the hospital for preventative maintenance. You go to the hospital for emergency. You want to make sure that you don't go to the hospital for emergency, because you will get what they give you, and you have no way to say no. There's no way to say no. So once you've actually degenerated yourself, it's like your transmission. If you didn't take care of it and it falls out, then you got to call the tow truck. And if your insurance only lets you tow 5 miles, then you're going to a tow station 5 miles. But you want to go to the one 100 miles because it's your friend and you know they're going to treat you right. But your insurance won't let you and you haven't got the money. So do you think you can afford $100,000 in treatment at the hospital for a simple type of problem that you could have taken care of? Okay? And what is the problem? The biggest problem that we see is not really knowing what to sidetrack or what to do. Because once you find out that most of the things that we do are over a whole generation of time, we find out that all we have to do is remineralize our bodies. And how do you remineralize them? We've got about 100 different foods. You want to get off of, actually you can just shut that thing off for a minute. Oh, actually, you know what? Just, this is something that we designed here for everybody. This is called Earth Shift Project, because a lot of people, I'm only here to stimulate you a little bit. And it's up to you to do your homework. And doing your homework, of course, means that there's a lot of information out there. And actually paying for all this information, I don't think is cool. You need to pay to get healthy? Or is that charlatanism, maybe? I'm going to sell you 6 or 7 tapes, and you're going to sit down. How about health should be free? Health, wealth, and happiness. How could you get health and wealth if you got to pay for it and get happiness? And once you do get sick, really, how do you think that you're not going to get, how do you think you're going to get healthy? You're going to have to pay for it? I don't think that's going to happen. So this project is called The Revealing, because there's a lot of revealing that we all need to do as a group. So all I can do is share with you the ideas, the disciplines, the philosophies that actually make sense, that are easy, can't be hard, that are efficient, can't be more steps than what you're doing, otherwise you won't do it. And it has to be economical. How about cheaper than what you're doing now? Then how are you going to say no? So this is what this whole project's about. And I'm lucky that I have a wealthy family to let me do this, because we lose a lot of money by doing all this stuff. We have a wholesale club. There isn't one in existence that sells wholesale because it's taboo. Remember, business is a sin. We sell to Whole Foods. We sell to all these health food stores under the Ultimate Superfood brand and all the OGO brand that we have. And that's to compete in all the stores with all the rest of the retail sides. But we've designed a wholesale club for people to be able to play the game of lifestyle makeover. And if it's not easy, economical, or efficient, then how could you play this game? Go to these healthier food stores with 2 bags and walk out of it with $80, and you actually need a lot of stuff. Remember, you're going to upgrade a little bit at a time. Don't buy water anymore. Get our 7-stage RO system that some people sell for $2,000. Ours is about $360. Okay? Fluoride filter, alkalizing cartridge. You're going to strip your water down, and then you remineralize it because you're smart now. Now you know that you don't drink fresh water, because if you do, especially RO water or distilled water, you're doing the body's conductive energy a disservice. You're actually degenerating yourself and causing yourself to lose more minerals. And, I heard I'm supposed to drink 10 to 12 glasses of water a day. What kind of water should be the question to ask. When you go to the doctor, or let's say somebody has a problem where you have to call the paramedic, what do they do when the paramedics come in? What do they give you? Do they give you fresh water in your veins? No, they'll kill you. They give you a 6% Ringer solution, sodium chloride, salt. Before they give you the heart, what do they call them, the electrical to stimulate your heart, they give you a shot of potassium chloride. Because the only reason your heart stopped is because you were acid, and the heart doesn't pump your blood. Remember, that's a fallacy. The arms and the legs pull it through the body, just like nature does, using implosion techniques. Hot and cold get pulled. The heart it's impossible to push through 75,000 miles of hose. Okay, so the heart makes electricity because we are electrical beings. All you have to do is bang your elbow a little bit against the corner, and you'll find out that this machine is all electrical, and it eats DC current, direct current. So we live off of oils. We want to change our ways and rise to the occasion. This is hemp seed. And the reason being is because we want to change our oils, our sugars, and we want to change our what's called minerals for ones that would let you so you could become more of this higher vibratory being. We put this chart together here just to be able to actually show most of the people in the United States, they live in this bottom pyramid called the standard American diet. 80% of all the nation lives here. That means if it's good, I'll eat it. My 5 senses will tell you if I like it or not, and it better be cheap, because 5 tacos for $1 is basically, that's the game. Now, I used to do it. I've eaten a lot of McDonald's. Taco Bell was my favorite. Once you sort of find out, remember, you're not to eat. This is a naturalistic lifestyle. So if it's got chemicals, synthetics, hormones, antibiotics, and all these things, then what do you eat? So that's why we designed this club. The idea is you have to be able to see that this group is getting smarter, and it's actually moving its way up to this group, to the healthier foods. Healthier foods doesn't mean health food, like the health food store we think. Remember, all the foods mostly in the store, they're genetically modified. It's very hard to find something that doesn't have wheat, corn, or soy in it. Very hard. All I know is if I eat wheat, corn, or soy, I get a massive stomach ache because I've terrain modified my microbes to eat heirloom. And heirloom things are naturalistic things that have not been perverted yet by science. So each section goes up, and once you get to the healthier food, you start waking up. And each one of these little colors dictate your consciousness. So you can see if you live in this standard American diet, that's an acid diet, and that's a very slow vibration. This is where all the microbes, all the critters live. They live in red, orange, and yellow. You ever heard you're a rainbow warrior? Okay, a rainbow warrior. Dave Wolf says this a lot. And this is true. Your body is a color machine. It thrives off of not sublight, it thrives off of ultralight, really fast color. And all the things that we don't like live in the red, orange, and yellow categories. So if we were smart, what we would do, we would manipulate our energy brackets a little bit at a time. And how we do that is by the foods we eat and by the fluids we drink. It's very simple. And once you do this for 6 months, you're pushing out these microbes with love. And the microbes that can hang with you will pleomorphically, pleo means to change, morphic. They change to who you become. And if you become dirty, they're only doing you a service. They're not here to kick your ass. They're only here to be able to clean up the mess that you put in this body. So if we change the polluted foods, the dead foods, the demineralized foods for higher source foods, then the minerals basically change the microbes over to a different source of being. What are you laughing for? So this is where we want to be. Green, blue, indigo, and violet. And what is that? Organic foods, remember, I wouldn't trust them too much because unless you have a certificate of analysis, then I can go to Mexico or, you know, you hear all this stuff about organic goji berries. Remember, China doesn't have organic status, so I don't know what anybody's doing selling Tibetan goji berries. Come on. You ever been to Tibet? What grows there? Nothing. Okay? So how could goji berries grow there when they're a tropical fruit? Is because, like Incan berries, it's a good business is to be able to stimulate people and to make it feel like this is you know, something special. So there's a lot of disinformation, and all we're trying to do is not, you know, kick around people or anything. We're just trying to make this thing so it's very simple. So what do we all want to get? We all want to get health, but once you get your health, then what do you want to get? Consciousness. So then you jump over to this side over here, and you see all these saints you see in all the pictures that have this big glowing head. We are light beings. So if we remove a lot of the carbon-based structure in our body, our cells, remember, love is when all the cells become one. And each of the cells can magnetically, electronically, and photonically touch each other. That's love inside the body. And once you get this internal love, you don't need it outside. You already have it. You're not searching for it. So the idea is that you want to start, as I say, you're on the plane, put your mask on first before you put the child's masks on. So before we start talking about all this consciousness and all this sort of fluffy things, the body is the temple, so treat it so. And if we poison the temple, then all we've done is actually pervert our growth into this thing called consciousness. And that's why we're here at this time, to become conscious beings from the unconscious beings that we all have been. We have let ourselves collectively fall down, as you can see. In 100 years, we've destroyed this planet. And if there's an alien race looking down, they're going, I don't know, guys. You either, like Eckhart Tolle, you know who he is? I would suggest everybody read the book, The New Earth. Very smart. And listen to the CDs, because reading it's one thing, but listening to the CDs every chapter about 10 times will slap you into it. Okay? Because that's what it needs. Superhuman intervention. And some of these beings had an epiphany and a wake-up, because there is an interdimensional system here, and if you are being lived, then maybe some of the beings here are actually really trying to share because they're frustrated. Why would you write a book? It's because you're really frustrated. You don't write it because you got nothing better to do. Okay? You write it because you feel something inside you says that the others need to see this. So once you really see this truth, the New Earth, what's his mantra? Evolve or die. It's pretty simple. And that's part of our one of our slides. It's take the red pill, get out of here, or take the blue pill and come on in, and let's all triality, let's all work together. So it's the idea is triality consciousness is when we all put down our differences, and what we do is we know that all of us are being breathed by the same thing. Call it spirit, you can call it God, you can call it creator, whatever. I call it the thing. No one knows what it is. Who breathes you right now? You? Everybody breathe. Okay, so since you just breathed, who was breathing you before? Remember, you ate all this food, went through your flavor savers. After that, where does it go? Through 75,000 miles of hose. Nobody knows, do they? Remember, this is an interdimensional fractional system wanting to show itself to the ones that feel that they can take it. Interdimensionality is the next system from spirituality. It goes from survival. The next ring is materialistic, and who dies with the most toys in that level wins. Okay? The next level is spiritualistic. You give all your stuff away. You go, I don't need any of this stuff. Nothing makes sense. You don't really do anything because you're in spirit. You're looking at the gu, the dark. That's what guru means. Gu means dark in Sumerian, and the ru, or Sanskrit, means light. There's no judgment. You're just studying the light and the dark. Okay? So then you step back and you say, now I'm graduating, because you've studied the dark, where the secrets are, and you're studying the light, where the power is. But if the power doesn't have the secrets, there's no power. It's a system that actually both sides need to get together. That's the duality system. And then the next system behind it is interdimensionality. It's called triality. So the spirituality is actually looking at the duality, the guru. Okay? You're not judging anybody. Remember, I don't judge anybody, this and that. Great, because you're actually starting to see, feel, hear, and touch. And once you start to see the insanity, that's part of your sanity. If you can't see the insanity, it's because you're swimming in it. Okay? And if you're swimming in this insanity, then first thing you want to do is when you start getting sane is to be able to share what you see. Then you become a weirdo. Okay? I've been a weirdo for a long time. So I call myself an esotericist. And esotericists are a cult because they're constantly looking behind the veil. It doesn't mean, a cult means you can't see it, you can't feel it, hear it, and touch it like the Matrix. And it's forbidden to speak these things to other people because otherwise you've now irritated the herd. Okay? Right now, we are not part of the herd. Otherwise, you wouldn't even be here. You're here as actually one of the movers and shakers and seeing, why is there so many movies on interdimensionality right now? Everything is interdimensionality. Do you believe that there's a race here that wants us to become more like them? I think so. Either that or evolve or die, guys. Remember, the earth has washed itself many times. Okay? And right now, I don't know. Okay? We either better shape up or it's going to be ship up, out. Okay? Sure, we'll get reseeded again. Remember, the dinosaurs did come here, didn't they? You think they just blew in on the planet? There is 100 trillion, remember, 46 chromosomes, 100 trillion stars in the heavens, and billions of other known galaxies. So I call this the galaxy game, and it's time for us as a group to wake up. And one of the best ways I found to wake up is to eat superfoods. And superfoods, let me just go through this real quick here. Yeah. If you go through, I just did a 5-hour presentation on the Big Island of Hawaii, and we talked about 2012 and the relationship to tonight when you leave, I want you to go look into the west, and I want you to look and say, whoa, what is that big bright light up there that you've never seen before? Does anybody know what it is? You're good. It's Jupiter. And what is Jupiter? Reignited because it's a gas helium giant, similar to the sun. It's just a big gas ball. It's reignited as a sun. Look it up. Reignited Jupiter as a sun. It's not on CNN, is it? Okay? And when you look down into the west, you'll go ahead and see another planet. It's just, they were just at the Raw Spirit Fest when I was there. You could see Jupiter right here and Venus right here. And you could go, whoa, check out those huge, bright, bright objects. These are planets. They're not suns. Why are they brighter than every sun in the sky? What's the brightest sun that we know of? It's in the Egyptian, Akkadian, Sumerian. It's written all over the tablets. You got it. Sirius, the star system. 8.6 light years away, and this system is the brightest of the heavens, right below Orion. Okay? The Pleiades, Taurus, Orion, and Sirius. So when we see that the planets are on fire, this is the time that we've been waiting for. We are the ones we've been waiting for. Okay? What does that mean? This carnation is going to see massive change. Massive. And the sun, which I call Christos, not Christ. This is not terrestrial. This is Christos. And if you go to the church, I was born Catholic. What do they say at the end of all the prayers? Amen what? You're good too. Okay? The Son, God. Amen is terrestrial. Okay? But let's go cosmic because that's where all the action is. So every time our sun, is it global warming or is it solar system warming? There's a lot of disinformation out there. Do we have enough power to figure it out between us all, what the real system is? Do you think CNN's going to tell you the truth? This is a game. Okay? And this game is real. So if this is true, and it's not global warming, but it's solar system warming, because Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, everything is in massive, like the microbes, pleomorphic, change, everything. And all you have to do is look at it and go, okay. Does everybody know that the sun does a flip every 11.2 years? Look up this one, NASA. The sun does a flip. And you'll go, how come this isn't again on CNN? This would be a huge, front page news. The sun, Christos, Amun-Ra, reversed its polarity and magnetism. And every time it flies around this thing called the cosmic holy temples, which is each constellation has its own energy, vibration, and whoever lives on the planets at that time or wherever we're going through connects into consciousness because that's your energy band. And you can see the size of the earth is really small to Christos. And Zach does a lot of the video editing. He helps with a lot of the things that basically I can't do. And we've got some really good ones here coming up. We'll post them on the internet. Have you seen the differences in the planets? And the size of our sun is 860,000 miles wide, which is a big sun, isn't it? Sounds like it. Our sun is tiny compared to Sirius. Okay? Our sun is, Sirius is tiny compared to Arcturus. Arcturus is tiny compared to Regal. And the galactic center, the one who runs the show, how big does anybody know? This is a 1,000-pointer, if anybody can get this one. How big is GC? Not JC, but GC. So if you know who JC is, we all know who that is. Okay? Controls the planet, right? JC. So let's go to the big. Remember, who runs the show here? JC, most likely, right? And that's whatever it is. Let's go now cosmic. And now let's go right to the center of the planet of what's called the big planet. Because that's sort of what it is. It's this big thing. I am that I am. What do you think they're retaining to? Everything is me and I am everything. This is GC. And GC runs the show of 100 trillion stars in our little tiny Milky Way galaxy made up of known billions of other galaxies. You know who the Pope is, right? How come the Pope wears Maltese crosses all over his body? He's not Maltese, but he does wear all these crosses. Okay? You've heard of this guy named Saint Germain? Anybody know who Saint Germain is? Check him out. He's blue-eyed. So is the Pope. So is the Germans. Why do all these guys wear this thing? One prays, one kills, one says, I'm your saint to help you sinners, or at least help you along the way. All the kings and queens, even independence skateboards, choppers. Look, the Babylonian sun cross. What's that big ball in the center? I'm giving you a hint here. This has nothing to do with terrestrial. This is called the galaxy game. And when you see this, these are 4 constellations of light. And every time our sun travels around this 25,920-year complex, it goes through each one of these constellations, remember? And this constellation is the one we're talking about. This is the constellation of Aquarius. The age of, well, it's upside down there. The age of Aquarius. Actually, that is Aquarius, though. These are ancient symbols. They're all splattered around. Everything's different. So when you see the cross here, let's look at it. The bottom, this is the true one right here. You can see the crop circle. Check it out. The bottom, well, let's go on Saint Germain here. The bottom constellation is Aquarius. The top constellation is Leo. That's why you see all the pyramids. Leo the lion, and the lion's got his hand on the ball. Remember, this is the... Exactly. Now, when we go to the left here and look at it straight down, this is the constellation of Taurus. And the other constellation is the constellation of Scorpio, or the snake, called the snake handler, if you really look back, and it's holding a snake. Okay? And you see snakes on everything, don't you? How come there's 2 snakes running up and down the medical doctor's card? Ask him. Doesn't know. Remember, 2 snakes facing each other, winding down this thing 5 different times. There's snakes on everything, isn't there? Pretty much. Even the fire departments have snakes. Everybody has this thing called the Caduceus, or the snake. So, Quetzalcoatl, who's he? Okay. What does it translate to? Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, bird brain, reptilian brain. This is a very advanced being. Bird brain sounds like a dummy, doesn't it? How about the bird brain is highly navigational? Do birds go ahead and need a map? How about we have 5 brains? And I'm skipping around now a little bit right now. But this is where right now we have a chance to activate all 5 of our brains and become human. There are no humans here. Show me one. We're reptilian mammalian hybrids. First brain to form is which one? Reptilian. You're good. Second brain, mammalian. Third brain, did you breathe in mama's womb? Amphibian. Bird brain. Some people are highly navigational. Some people, have you ever seen the movie The Abyss? Yes, you can learn how to breathe in fluid again. System knows how to do it. Okay? That is a true movie. At least the breathing of the water. Everything else is another story. But you can breathe. So the idea that we're really looking at is that if you can activate, in our job right now, if there was a species here really wanting to see the truth, and the truth is that, can we become human? That would mean making equanimity with your reptilian, mammalian, bird, amphibian to become human. The Pentagon is the largest building of the world, isn't it? Okay? The Pentagon has 72 degrees on each of the angles. Okay? The 72 sacred names of what? Okay? 72 times 2? It's the last number of the Fibonacci sequence. Okay? 144? This is all symbolism, and it all goes to math. I was watching you. You're talking about all the things I love to talk about. So this is what it is. Problems, reactions, and simple solutions so we could become more human. And the best way for us to become more human is to activate all of our cells inside and share to others how we're all doing it a little bit at a time. He shows his what we call his growth. And you share the secrets on how you did it. If not, remember, it's a sin, isn't it, not to share? What's the constellation of Aquarius? What is the mantra? To reveal all secrets at this time, right now. What was the age of Pisces? The age of duality. It was a good school, wasn't it? Okay, you got the dark hats, the light hats. Don't look and see you've been all taken. If you didn't have this game, you'd never be able to actually grow. You can't learn love until you actually have enough of what you need, which is a lot of duality and hate. And it's not only duality like hitting people with swords and fighting, but it's a lot of doing, isn't it? Get tired of doing? Do, and when you're done, do some more. That's duality. And also fight while you're doing it too. So the next ring, remember, is triality. So all this stuff really makes sense, but the idea is that why are we going to want to eat food? Because we're scared on getting lupus, we're scared about what, obesity, we're scared about all these sicknesses. How about there's a bigger picture? It's called consciousness. And the only reason we can do it now is because Christos, the Son, says we can. And a lot of people at this time right now are waking up to this idea. How do we become more human? If not, evolve or get reseeded. It's pretty simple. All you have to do is fly around the world and check it out and see there are, they call masters of the Far East. They don't live here though. They can't deal with all the electrical magnetics and all of the, this is a real good, how could you say, trap. And it's a trap only because we let it. Remember, Albert Einstein says one thing. If you want to change the world, can't give people free energy. unless the consciousness says I can deal with it. Can't give a kid a knife, he'll cut himself. Okay, it's pretty simple. Because we all think that, oh, Nikola Tesla, we weren't ready for that back then. Okay, we would have killed ourselves. Remember, we were unconscious. Now, this makes sense now real quick. Remember, there's 5 rings of consciousness. And the rings of consciousness are very basic. The first ring, remember, like we talked about, is survival. Second ring is materialistic. Third ring is spiritualistic. The fourth ring is interdimensionality. Fifth ring is what they call Buddhic Christos. You get the chance to find out that there's systems in front and systems in back, and actually you're all of them. Okay? So going from spirituality to interdimensionality is a big grip. Remember, why would there be so many movies right now about interdimensionality? Because there is a system that's guiding us now either to an end result of goodness or an end result of like, whoa, thought you could pull it off, but we really just couldn't get it together. Couldn't get it together, could we? So, do you think everybody here could practice triality? Of course, if everybody's eating high-vibe foods, really manipulating this machine, because you can manipulate your machine and take back your power if you want to. And if you don't know you can, then why would you even ask that question? So the only reason being why we have these foods, just sort of skip through real quick there. Are you ready for the shift? Keep on going there. Yeah, this is all, and this is stuff we've talked about. You can go on earthshiftproject.com, and we've got a lot of good, you can see the poles all melting, solar winds, keep going. Yeah, and this is what our solar system's going through. This, look up pick of the day, stellar cloud. Where's our sun traveling in the galaxy would be a very smart thing to ask anybody. Okay? Where's the sun traveling? Would be a very important question to know. This is pick of the day, right here. This is our sun, and we're traveling through this highly magnetized, highly photonic part of the galaxy. We are touching Christos, the big Christos. Remember, no one told me how wide the galactic center is yet. It takes 4.3 light years just to travel across its face. How fast is a light year? 186,200 miles per second, not 55 miles an hour on the freeway. This is fast, and it's big. 4.3 light years just to travel across its face. And this big ball runs the show. So if this was the room of the galaxy, it would take up about 60% of the room in here. This big, huge thing. And all the rest of the stuff is a bunch of little specks of sand. So each one of these, you can see Saturn has a hexagon top. Every one of the planets, every one of the disciples. What does the Da Vinci painting show? It shows a guy, Christos, Christ. But let's go, remember, let's change the way that we look at it. Let's go cosmic, so we don't fight with anybody about terrestrial ideas. And you'll see that Christos he's got a Maltese cross behind his head. Remember, this is the galaxy game. And he comes back to breath, or it comes back to breath, when it travels through one of these 4 constellations of light. And all of the 12 disciples get glowing heads. And so when Venus, Jupiter, and Mars light up to full breath, you know Christos is coming back to town. And that means that this ball is coming back to full power. And so when it comes back to full power, then we get a chance to grow like we never thought we could, because nobody knows what we are going to turn into. That's what's sort of like if you were the ones that were controlling the system, and we are a lot of the little children that, remember, they can't have knives, you can't have free energy. What are we all going to turn into if our DNA... The other day, the Chilean earthquake, do you know what happened to the planet? It was an 8.8 earthquake. Huge. Okay? Our heart, remember, is 23.5 degrees. What happened to the planet? Tilted. Sped up, didn't it? Look it up. 21 degrees now. You know how many people left the planet here in the last few months? That heart, your heart, my heart, and everybody's heart, if it was healthy enough to shape-shift, because we're all shape-shifting beings, we're all morphing beings, had to go to 21 degrees. If not, you're out of here. Okay? You're out of here. And you saw more. I actually lost about 5 friends. Okay? All heart, all bam, quick. Thank you, ma'am. Out of the door. Okay. Now, you can see, have you seen this on the front of CNN? How come Jupiter lost a stripe? You'd think that that would be on the front page instead of Britney Spears shaving her head. Okay? I mean, it's up to us to either unwind the truth, the lies, the secrets, and deceptions. This was a radio show I was going to do, and I was told not to do it. Okay? To unravel the secrets of health, wealth, happiness, self and group sustainability, and inscension, not ascension. That's a new age word. This is inscension is the word. You must change your internal self, and then you radiate outwards, and what happens is now you have no choice. But this is your new program. You don't have to read a book because you don't like your life, and you say, I'm going to be a spiritualist, and I'm going to read from someone else like Eckhart Tolle, who had this total DNA revamping. Check that guy out. What a morphing change he took. And genius words come out of his mouth. Okay? That's not him. That's a bigger him. That's a more, remember, we have many selves. You ever seen the movie You Are Not One, But Many, called The One? Okay? This guy went around different parts of the galaxy and he just killed himself. And he found himself, every time he killed himself, he got faster, quicker, and smarter. How about every time, instead of you going around the galaxy and flying through one of the Stargate pinholes and goes ahead and there's one of myself, there's another Robert, boom, got you. And then I became faster, quicker, and smarter because I have one less energy that's actually separated or diverted. How about we have many selves, and it's up to us to unravel more of ourself, and that's part of our job. So let's say I'm looking at Dave here, and Dave came to the planet. And Dave, of course, has special latent DNA that he's planned for himself if he's smart enough to be able to unwind himself. I wonder what you're going to turn into. X-Men and X-Woman, do you really believe that's true? Everybody's got, what's a fortune cookie? What, a stupid cookie with a thing inside? How about every one of us in here has a special DNA that is lying dormant, and your human potential will come out of you if you and I are smart enough to share. If you don't share, I can't grow anymore unless I share. I'm at the sort of peak. And the only way I can share is not to go ahead and say, bunch of dummies, and run up the ladder by yourself. No, consciousness wants itself to know more about itself so it can find this new self. Triality. That means that all of ourselves have to get along, but most importantly, all brains now must connect as one. It's not an exterior thing. We are all one. That's all BS. We, in my say, we are all one when we become one with ourselves. 100 trillion cells all becoming one, each of the brains, bird, reptilian, mammalian, amphibian, and human becoming this new species. It's a new species we are. And if you were really, as you see David Icke and you see all these different guys, you see that there is a race here of other alternative aliens. And when a Mexican guy travels across the border in America, he's called an illegal alien, right? You have a parasite inside your body. I call that, it's sort of an illegal alien. Well, we're all the same, but there's sort of like a problem here. And the problem is that we, at this time, can't see this alienism anymore. Why are there boundaries up on the planet? This is the Earth axis. We lost 1.2 microseconds. It's permanent. And as the planet keeps on going straighter, more, this thing that spins goes faster and faster and faster, and you've heard time will collapse upon itself, and this is what's happening. So as the planet becomes 0-degree tilt, you will have a planet that has a Garden of Eden. How could you have a Garden of Eden with a 23.5-degree tilt with this thing called the moon that never changes its face? Ask one of the physicists that's so smart. How come the moon never spins? How come no matter where we go on the planet, it's like I'm looking at the same thing all the time? Oh, but it spins just as much as it does. Shut up. It can't. Okay? So why does this thing that's hollow as a bell? Remember the satellite crashed and it rang for days. It's hollow. Could it be a hypergravity reactor? What's that? Well, does it change the oceans 4 times a day? It takes a lot to be able to go ahead and make tidal changes. So we've got a huge this revealing of a lot of things that our little brains really can't accept sometimes. Let's keep going a little quicker. Look how much the ocean has risen. People say, well, the ocean hasn't risen. Guys, the ocean doesn't rise. How can it rise in the sand? It just keeps on chewing it out. It's heavy. It's not going up like this. It doesn't have a cement pool. So if the ocean rises, great, it goes up because it can't chew the sides up. If you go to Hawaii or go to any place and you actually ask anybody, they've lost their beaches. And it's not going up like this. Oh, it is. But it's going like this because it's heavy and it's eating up and it's transmuting a whole different position because of the weight. So this is like, sort of like unraveling ideas and stuff so we can see. Keep on going there. That's, keep going there. That's more. Keep going. Now, this is important here. Is it BS about where the sun is traveling in the galaxy at this time? We're crossing the equator. Nothing spins in a circle. That's a fallacy. The sun doesn't just go like this. It travels in a helical, conical, spherical rotational vortex. Just as the tornado does, just as the toilet spins around, and the toilets in the upper atmosphere spin this way, and the toilets in the lower atmosphere spin this way, because the electrons spin in the direction of the North and the South Pole. Galaxy spins, everything spins. Everything has this wormhole. So the idea is that our sun, and this was at 500 BC, you can see where our sun is right now at 2012 AD. It's right on this thing called 0 point. There's a guy named Terrence McKenna that used to talk about this, and he got silenced, got a brain tumor. Did he get a brain tumor? Did Jim Fixx? Remember, he was a runner. He was a vegetarian runner, and he was telling everybody, guys, and there is a big, we won't call them cartel, but a big business behind meat. Remember, Oprah got in trouble about saying not to eat meat. Okay? Now, you believe this runner, he had a lot of power, didn't he? Hey, I'm a vegetarian. I'm one of the best runners in the world, and I don't eat carcass. Okay? And I say carcass not because I don't eat meat, but because it looks like carcass. So when you see, how come he died of a heart attack? Just like in the Matrix, as you can see, is there an ironic system here that actually ruins your power when you find out? If Jim Fixx was alive today, do you think vegetarianism and all these people that actually excelled in certain areas, do you think that that would actually spur on certain types of motion? Of course it would. Let's keep on going there. This is where we live. We live 2/3 of the way out in the Orion Arm, which is a long ways. See you later. We live 2/3 of the way out in the Orion Arm right now, and you can see our sun on this one right here. And this is the galactic core. Whoa, doggy. That thing is big. Okay, can you stare into that?
Isn't it a black hole?
Exactly, another 1,000 points. Okay, everything is a helical, conical, spherical, rotational wormhole. That's why you see tornadoes. The tornadoes aren't here to kick our ass. They're here to neutralize and stabilize the planet in its new energy pattern. So there are machines on this planet called HARP and different things that can manipulate earthquakes, manipulate weather. They can manipulate tidal, surge, waves, called the system lords. They are here. They're showing you their power. Sort of look at Haiti. You call Hades, the Hades constellation, Haiti. Wow. Earthquake. How come they picked a bunch of really poor places to make some big earthquakes? Because if I was German, I'd say, if you don't bow down to my ways, I may go ahead and destroy your little country. Okay? And it's only, remember, it's not the truth. It's just an actual possibility. But you can see here a coincidence is really high level here. Let's keep going here.
Conspiration.
What's that?
Conspiration.
A conspiracy, yeah. Now you can see here, check it out. This is how everything flows. Remember, it doesn't flow straight. It's a fallacy again. How come the egg is shaped like an egg? Because that's our shape around where our Earth goes around the sun. It doesn't go round. It just goes around in a hemispherical orbit. And the chicken is the thing that kicks out 1 egg a day, unless you're giving them hormones, vaccines, antibiotics, and it kicks out almost 2 a day. Okay? And if you eat fertile eggs, what do? If you're a man, you get small gonads, and if you're a woman, you just get really bitchy because her gonads are right here. She just can't see them. And you lose your health. Because once you lose your power, once you lose your hormones, that's it. Microbes say, thank you so much, because now I can play my game. And our game is down here at the lower vibrations. Our game of consciousness is red, orange, yellow. They live here. We live in higher consciousness in green, blue, indigo, and violet. So there's an energy band just like your broadband on your computer. AM 640 KFI, the news, weather, and sports is where the microbes live. That's a stupid channel, it's called. They know everything, and all you got to do is, as they say, listen to this channel, and you don't need to listen to anything else, because we'll tell you the news, weather, and the sports. Okay? Then you go to FM, and you go, whoa, this is disinformation. You got rock, jazz, religion, you got it all there. Everybody trying to sell you this. If you get in trouble, Latino, you got Spanish, you got it all. Then you go to shortwave, and very few people play in shortwave, but that's where a lot of truth is. Because those people that actually play in those bands, remember they're energy bands, and the further you get out, the further you get away from the distortion. And the closer you go to the center is where all the action is, where I say where all the disinformation is. Let's keep going there. Okay, this is really cool. The Earth Shift Lifestyle Makeover Network. We've got all these different, if you clicked on Alkaline Lifestyle, it shows you a whole list, and this guy made this whole thing right here. Okay, he's a pretty talented dude. Now, I can't do it, that's for sure. I got to ask him, how do I get this? How do I go ahead and copy this? This is how you do it, man. Oh, all right, thank you. So, we have transformations, articles, galactic news. Booby traps is a really good section for you to be able to see, because the booby traps are really important. Lead and lipstick. I mean, a lot of people say, oh, they did that in the 50s and the 60s. Look it up. I won't say the names because I don't want to get in trouble, but the biggest companies that you put your hands in authority have actually not done us a favor. And I don't want to hear that they didn't know. Okay? I don't want to hear that. I don't. It's because that's just like, remember, there is a system here to keep us down. How do you think you control 7 billion people? Right. Come on, that's our job right now. Yeah, well, that's one of them. It's our job right now. We just changed jobs. We got to control 7 billion people, guy. How are we going to do it?
Dumb them down.
This guy's good here. Dumb them down. Disinformation. Okay, let them fight amongst themselves. Who are the Knights of the Round Table? A bunch of guys drinking beers? How about countries all that have a pentagon star on their flag? Does China have a pentagon? Okay? Russia? Come on. Who are the ones that are playing? They all got pentagons. Okay, what's that?
Israel.
You're good. Is, Ra, and El, the three kings. Isis, Amun-Ra, and Elohim. Oh my gosh. Jerusalem? What's that about? It's a bloody desert over there. Who wants that place? Well, what is 33.33 longitudinal and 33.33 latitudinal on not the Greenwich meridian, because that's the foolish meridian or the fool's meridian, but on the Paris meridian? That's what the Rosicrucians use. These are what the so-called secret societies use. We use the dumb one, okay, because we're just into looking on the geometric. But let's go to where the game is. Let's go to the Paris meridian. 33.33, 33.333 is right on the nose in Jerusalem. Go 33.333 around on the planet, and what do you find there? 1947, you had some type of a thing called Roswell. Go the other way, go 33.333, and you'll find out that also has this thing called Sidonia, Syria. Why would they name those cities? And Mars, face of Mars, all that. There's a guy named Richard Hoagland. There's a lot of stuff that people basically don't have the time to knit all together, so we are just trying to knit some of the ideas to go ahead and show you that there's a really big picture that wants to show itself. So this is a really cool thing. It's free. Join it. The Earthshift Project is a place where we share, we learn, we investigate, and we ignite ourselves and others to play the game. We need more players. Okay? I don't want to stick my neck out and talk about all this stuff, and if I am, it's only because I'm a student and I want to find out that I'm wrong. Expand what we do know and expand what we don't know. That's the mantra. I'm not an authority. I don't want to be either.
Yeah. Actually, players are all over the place internationally. The thing is, it has not created a collective consciousness in regards to collaboration. So really, forces coming together to increase the light.
I love this guy, man.
Darkness.
Yeah, no, you're right on. That's two good things that you just said. One was about the emotional, the mind, about thoughts, and the second about collectiveness. How do we, remember, practice triality? If we are the ones we've been waiting for and we can't get it together, then evolve or get wiped off. Because if we can't get it together, look how many people didn't show up here at this beautiful convention. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, you got 7 million people in Los Angeles County running around wild. Okay, doing what? A lot of nothing. If this was something that was really, really advantageous, consciousness. See, this is where we all need to really get together and figure out how to attack this in a good way, in a loving way. And there is a system here that we need to be able to actually, it hasn't formed yet, so we have to create it. And that's the best part about triality. It's either we create it or it's not going to get created.
Actually, it is in creation. It's a matter of recognizing each other's face.
Connecting the dots.
Literally, it's already working. Ultimately, truth alone triumphs. So it's a question of facing each other.
Yeah, I'm just impatient. I want it to happen fast.
No, it's happening.
I got no patience, man. Let's get it on. You know, if you were sort of, if you woke up 10 years early, this has been like a weird world to me. Okay? And I am only here just to be able to share, is only because, just like someone writing a book, you get frustrated. So you want more players. And so we are really looking for not only more players, but we're looking to knit the players together so we can really make not a bunch of threads. You know, this is from the Shipibo tribe, right? It's a tribe that is in Peru. And there's a lot of threads here. There's all handmade. There's a lot of threads here. But somebody put the threads together, hand-stitched this thing, and made it into a shirt. And I'm a thread, you're a thread, he's a thread, and let's figure out how to make a tapestry that makes sense, not just a, you know.
You're absolutely right. The tapestry, I'm just saying, let me share something else. It already exists, it's in working. The thing is, I see you now, you see me now. But the thing is, the force is already working. It's working
Totally.
since the beginning. It will never end.
Totally.
So it's just a pleasure. Whoever comes into the play sees the other.
That's right. Divine eye can't see itself, so let me show you what I see. You show me what you see, and let's put it in the middle as brothers and sisters here, not as this is a business again, because that means I can't tell you all the truth. And sure, I didn't lie to you directly. If I didn't tell you everything about the situation, that means that I did lie to you. Because part of the truth is to reveal all secrets at this time. So if we want to live in peace, what do? We reveal the secrets of abundance, free energy, food. Who's paying for food and water? It's illegal to catch your own rainwater now. It's illegal to grow your own bloody food in your backyard. Look it up. These are all things because we're too busy, we're too sick, or we're too poor to be able to actually do anything more than what, as you said, how do you dumb people down? You keep them busy, you keep them sick, and you keep them bloody poor. Can't do anything about it even if you got sick, and if you're too busy, you're trying to make money because you're too poor. And the ones that do have money, they're told. You look at all these movie stars with millions of dollars. How come you don't help humanity out or do anything? Because I see, so shall we taketh away, so shall we giveth, so shall we taketh. This is a sort of a weird system here that we need to really not step on anybody's toes and not fight the system lords, because they do have the guns. They do have all the power. And we are the ants in the system, and there's only a handful of crickets running the show. Have you ever seen that movie called Ants?
You know what I've discovered? That it comes down really to people are at fault themselves. It's a self-deception. Each individual deceives themselves before they can deceive. I have to deceive myself if I can deceive you. So it's really a choice of the individual. And people want to be deceived, literally. Everybody knows the truth. They have to recover it.
You gotta remember.
If you're sincere,
I remember.
It's all about memory.
It's all about remembering.
It's all about heart.
So I deceive myself and I deceive you when I do a as you said, so clever.
It's a business. It's a business. Just like belief, L-I-E. You believe it? So he's talking about the heart. And so how do we get the heart chakra at 8 cycles? Quit wearing sunglasses. Anybody that's wearing sunglasses in here, throw those things in the garbage. That's one of the booby traps, because you're making black mold in your body. And it took me a couple of years to get sunglasses off. If you go to a poor country, go to a really poor country, and then bring 10 of those people that have never seen anything but their poor country, and they'll go and say, how come all you guys wear dark glasses?
Sunblock.
Okay. What's that?
And sunblock.
Yeah, and sunblock. Why are you blocking yourself from Christos, you bunch of blasphemous? And why are you wearing rubber shoes and disconnecting yourself from the ground? I go on a 7-mile or so barefoot hike every Saturday if I can. Take your shoes off and you ground yourself to the ground and you go on a hike. At first you use little sticks and stuff in case you step on a rock, you got to get yourself and so on. So then what you do is, this is the best way. Do you want to get consciousness? What do? We ground ourselves at night to our bed. Ground yourself to the ground. Why do we lift? Why do we keep following this stupidity? Why do we lift ourselves off the ground 2 feet and disconnect ourselves? Why do we go to bed at night? To ground ourselves. So the only way you can ground yourself is I take a Kevlar piece of material, it's very cheap, and I put an alligator clip with a copper wire that just goes to the ground. It's very simple. I don't need to buy this with this. I don't need to go ahead and get charlatanized with all these $200 grounding blankets, because you can make your own for 10 bucks. So I wear a piece of meteorite. Here, you can see. You can go down to the beach and get your own. Meteorite is very smart because each little... Magnets are dumb. Don't play with magnets because they take your power away. As you'll notice, I got this thing right here. Okay, and this is a rock. And this rock, you got one in your pocket? Look at, he's this new age child here. He's got a meteorite I gave him there. Okay, these are... Well, you can call it, I call it ether stone, because no one really knows. And if this is real meteor, which it is, you know how much this cost? It's $20 a gram. A couple thousand right there. Okay? Go look up this movie called Meteor Man. It's on Discovery Channel and History Channel, I think it is, one of the two. And it's a new series. And these guys travel around the world to get meteors. 20 bucks a gram. Okay? Now, you can get yours for free. I'm going to show you how to get it. You get a couple magnets like I got from Home Depot right here. You go down to Santa Monica or any beach, and the best beach is one with a little bit of a cove. And what you do is you take this magnet and you find, first of all, the ocean comes in and it's wet right here. You go about 10 feet from where the water's wet. Not way back there, but right here. Not in the wet sand, because you won't get the meteorite. You got to go about 10 feet or so in the dry sand. Then you take your magnet, and everything that you pick up, and you'll pick up a pound in an hour, a pound times $10 and $20 a gram, boy, you're a rich person. You'd be doing this on a side job. Okay, it's better than going to work. And what you do with this stuff is really magical, because half this stuff, remember, is what do I do with it now? Okay, well, this is your new girlfriend and boyfriend. You sleep with it every night, not the magnet, but you sleep with this. I get myself, why? Because this gives you, if you get a DC voltmeter, I put it in like you get a finger off a glove, cut it off, and you can do it out of leather, you can do it out, but use it out of some type of natural material. Hemp works really good. Silk works really good. And what you do is you put all, this is actually a rock in this one too, but I have lots of dust that we've won down. I tell my kids go down there with a big magnet, Dad, look at all this stuff, and they're playing with it, and you can put the meteorite dust on your hand. And you notice how this stuff, if there's any metal here, where's metal? This, well, anyway, I don't want to ruin if there's anything that's metal, okay, that magnet really sticks to it. Now, is this going to stick to that metal? This is a very smart rock. It only works on organic material. Okay? You're an organic being. Your body's a battery. Watch. Does not, it will not, it has no magnetic affinity whatsoever until it touches me. And it gives me my maximum charge when, of course, I touch it. And it'll charge me like a trickle charge battery, like putting little solar panels on your RV to give it a little trickle charge all the time. So as you'll notice, I put the magnet like this, I put it like this. It doesn't have a pole. It's really smart. It's exactly like its mama, the sun. Thousands of poles. That's why you see all these solar flares and all these things. So this is a miniature Earth. Miniature, it's got tons of little magnetic poles all over it. So instead of buying something like this, what you do is get all your own for free. I carry one in my pocket too all the time because I know they're very smart. There's mine's a real cool alien one there. Got all the weird microbe holes in it. And this gives you, and if you don't believe it, get a DC voltmeter. It's only $20, and hold on to the DC voltmeter and see what your charge is. Mine's 1.5 volts right now. I first started, I had 7.7. It's weak. Half the people in this room have only 0.5. Okay? Remember, your magnetism is dependent on your conductivity, and since we stand on the planet, which is a big magnet, and we're out of the sun all day, we wear sunglasses, we're not doing ourselves any good. So once we really find out that we are magnetic and we're photo light systems, then you know, you'd want to supercharge yourself.
Speaking of magnetism, I have experienced that as we develop our attractive potential, in a sense our karma becomes far more instantaneous, and I have a brief share on becoming more instantly karmic. 3 weeks ago tomorrow night marks the night that I was arrested for the first time in my life. While saving a life, preventing a suicide, I sent a text message to talk somebody out of it. It was misinterpreted by the police. I was labeled according to their control system, which in my opinion is freaking out right now, because a lot of people wake up. I choose for this to be an empowering share. I was labeled by the new laws a terrorist. Came to my house at midnight, arrested me.
Gunpoint.
In county jail.
Gunpoint.
Yes. 15 hours in jail, explaining to them I was saving a life. Complied, went along with it, and got a big wake-up lesson about what's actually controlling our, because when you're in jail, you're looking at who is the controller and who is making all the decisions about what real power is in this world right now. So it was a beautiful wake-up call, and I really had to become ultra-conscious about even one text message brought this on me. And
there's a lot of people right now. That's great, thank you, because it takes you know, it takes a lot to share. Right now, you just saved somebody going to jail and getting tacked with a $10,000 bail. Did you have a bail? 50,000. Okay, and the average person, that'd be really hard. And how are you going to go ahead and get a $50,000 bail too if you can't have Dad call you up? And if not, it costs you $5 grand, 10% of the bail's bondsman. Whoa, and you didn't do a thing. And that would actually destroy most people. Destroy.
Yeah, and they took all my DNA now and full fingerprints.
And you got everything's down now. Even though you weren't put down, you're a troublemaker, brother. Okay, and let's see you again in my court, and the judge looks at you and says, "But I didn't do anything." But he doesn't. He just reads what's going on, and so yeah, no, that's a big. What's that? Yeah. Okay. Anyways, I think we went way over our time span, but what we're really, like I said, talking about is actually let's come together. I look at everybody here. Everybody's a teacher. We're all sharing. We're all learning. We're all investigating ourselves and investigating outside to become more complete. And that was great. Thank you.